Doctors of Reddit, what is the weirdest thing a patient wouldn't admit? A few years ago I had one kid, maybe 16 or 17, who evidently had heard of a challenge where you can fully insert a light bulb into your mouth, but when you try to pull it out you can't open your jaw wide enough and the bulb shatters inside. Well, after about 3 hours of picking glass from out of his mouth, in every spot imaginable, gums, under the tongue, roof of the mouth, throat, etc., I asked what went down and he just would not admit that he put the light bulb in his mouth. His main story was that his friend must have slipped it in his mouth when he was sleeping and punched him in the jaw. However, upon talking to this friend in another room, he confessed that the boy had tried to beat the challenge. His friend even showed me videos of other people trying it. Had a patient on our service for a heart failure exacerbation. We weren't sure why she had one now, as she had been stable for a few years prior. She also had a documented past use of crack cocaine, so we checked a urine drug screen. The screen was positive, and the next day I rounded on her. She asked me why she had the exacerbation. I told her it was likely due to her cocaine use. She was shocked that I would accuse her of using. I brought up her positive drug test and she insisted it was a false positive and told me she must have picked up the false positive from a toilet seat. I admitted a guy for chest pain. As part of the workup, I did a urine drug screen which came back positive for cocaine. After the rest of his cardiac workup was negative, I said to him, "Good news, you didn't have a heart attack. It's likely that your chest pain was caused by cocaine." His answer, "I didn't use cocaine. See, I was at a party and people had some lines of cocaine out on a table. As I was walking by, an oscillating fan blew the cocaine into my face, which is why my urine was positive." Needed to do a drug test on a patient, who came in with his pregnant girlfriend. Guy goes into the bathroom. A few minutes later he comes back out with an empty cup. He goes back to his room to drink some water. Couple minutes later he hurries back over to the bathroom with a noticeable bulge in his pants pocket. He comes back out with an adequate sample. So, we run the test. It comes back negative. We then run a pregnancy test on the sample. That comes back positive. Dude denied his pregnant girlfriend provided the sample even after being told there can possibly have prostate cancer if his urine turns positive on a pregnancy test. It was unbelievable. Not a doctor but a nurse. Had a patient come in with a toothpick in his penis. Refused to tell me how it got in there, insisting he was picking his teeth and it fell in. Nurse here, had a patient accuse me of shitting in her bed, and threatened to sue me for malpractice. Keynote, she never got out of her bed. Obligatory not a doctor, I'm a nurse. We had a patient come into the operating room for brain surgery. Probably a mid-50s guy with a nice head of light brown hair. Before a patient comes into the actual OR we ask them a series of questions, including whether they have any implants, jewelry, non-hospital clothes on, etc. Guy says no to all the questions. After the patient gets put to sleep, the surgeon grabbed his hair to start shaving it off, because brain surgery, and all his hair peeled off because he was wearing a wig and didn't tell us. We almost shaved his hair piece because he wouldn't admit to anyone he wore it. Obligatory not a doctor. Used to work PR and marketing in an inner-city hospital. Was once hanging out with the ER folks when a regular came in. He was into self-harm. This would have been in 2000/2001 or so, and I was young, so I had never even heard of this. This guy had spent hours burying a Phillips head screwdriver in his abdomen, carefully working it around major organs. He was a Vietnam medic and had some training, so he could feasibly do it. He straight up said, "What screwdriver? You all are crazy." The attending was staring right at the X-ray and the handle of the screwdriver sticking out of his abdomen. The screwdriver must have been 4 inches long. One of my lecturers told us a story of when he worked in ed. There was a man who refused to acknowledge or tell them how a jar got stuck in his rectum. They were taking him to the OR as it has created a vacuum seal and couldn't be removed without shattering, but realized his BSL, blood sugar level, was off the charts. Really high. They were considering postponing the surgery to work out WTF was going on. When he ended up talking, he told them the jar was full of honey before it got lodged, and was rapidly absorbed by the rectum, causing the insane levels. What? Other than all the random things that end up in rectums accidentally. Drunk electrician with the longest drill bit I've ever seen sticking through both legs and impaling his scrotum in between like a really gross kebab. He was so drunk he thought he broke his hip, denied owning any drill bits or for that matter having been drinking. Patient with diabetes came in to see me in clinic. Said foot had a wound. I asked when they last looked at it. They said that morning, and this was an 11 a.m. appointment. Helped them take off their sock. There were 4 maggots busily cleaning a pretty large ulcer on the side of the foot. I threw up a little in my mouth and proceeded to remove the maggots and dress the wound, a damn clean wound due to those maggots. Real late here, but I am a nurse and we just had a patient, mid-50s male, strictly pooped in diapers. When asked why, he said so he can freeze them. Ends up he has a deep freezer in the garage full of poopy diapers. He also works for housekeeping in the hospital. The actual weirdest thing for me was that one time when a severely obese person just refused to admit they ate anything but 1 small salad a day. It just comes down to math. You cannot get up to 500 pounds unless you put 500 pounds of stuff into you at a decent pace. Plus we found a snack wrapper in the inaccessible folds of your panis, G-bus. There was a woman sent in by her family doctor for urinating some blood. We put a camera into her bladder with her awake, looking to exclude a tumor. We found her bladder full of citra seeds/pits. So many of them. When asked why she put them there, she said, "Well, I eat a lot of fruit and wouldn't accept any responsibility for them being there." Thanks for watching and supporting our channel. We appreciate all members of Club Pepe. Don't forget to like and subscribe if want to see more high quality AskReddit content.